A Sydney man who killed the son of rock singer Angry Anderson while high on drugs has been cleared of murder. Mathew Flame was instead found guilty of manslaughter by a jury after arguing mental illness was to blame for his crime. Reporter Jamie McKinnell was in court for the decision. Jamie, what was the reaction from Flame and his family?
It was certainly a very emotional reaction today when Mathew Flame learned his fate. The 22-year-old was standing in the dock when the jury foreman gave the decision, and as he learned that he'd been found not guilty of murder but guilty of manslaughter, he closed his eyes, looked extremely relieved and then exhaled. Mathew Flame's mother was one of 5 or 6 supporters that had been watching this trial in the public gallery, and she began to cry quietly in the dock. When the judge and the jury had left the courtroom, Mathew Flame's mother went over to the dock and hugged him over the barrier. We heard him apologise to his mother, and through tears his mother replied, "Don't ever be sorry." It's been about 2 years since Mathew Flame went out partying with his close friend Liam Anderson in Darlinghurst and took a lot of drugs that night. They ended up alone together in a Queenscliff park where Mathew Flame was having some very dark hallucinations and ended up bashing his friend to death. Significantly today, the other reaction in court we saw was Liam Anderson's mother, Lindy, also went over to the dock and hugged Flame before he was led away. Here is Lindy Anderson speaking to journalists outside court.
No one's winning out of this. But you obviously forgive Matthew. Yeah, I do.
Now, Jamie, Flame's defence was that his underlying mental illness was to blame. What evidence did the court hear from experts on that point?
This really was a case about the interaction of drugs and mental illness. The Crown argued that Mathew Flame's decision to take drugs was responsible for this terrible crime, and he was experiencing a drug-induced psychosis. But his defence lawyers were arguing that there was an underlying condition, treatment-resistant schizophrenia, that had been sitting there dormant and was triggered by the drugs he took. We heard that he took up to 10 MDMA pills that night, and he also smoked cannabis and was drinking alcohol. We heard from 3 different psychiatrists through the course of this trial. One of them said that he believed there were no symptoms or signs of mental illness before this terrible night, but the other 2 said that they believed the schizophrenia was lying there dormant and that the drugs had either triggered it or unmasked it in some way.
Jamie McKinnell reporting from Sydney.